The city of Petare vibrates under the heat of late October as the Venezuelan flag flutters over a military installation where President Nicolás Maduro stands before a crowd of uniformed officers and cameras. Behind him, a giant screen shows blurred radar images and flashes of bright red dots, symbols, he says, of Venezuela's success in intercepting 2 aircraft allegedly used for drug trafficking. The event, broadcast nationwide, feels less like a routine press conference and more like a declaration of defiance. Maduro begins in his characteristic tone, firm, theatrical, and charged with nationalist pride. Today, 2 drug trafficking vessels entered from the north, and in accordance with our law, we have an interception law. We complied with all protocols and respected international law, he says. The audience nods and applauds as he gestures sharply toward the sky, describing how Venezuelan forces confronted what he portrays as an invasion of criminal intent. Behind the political message lies a broader geopolitical tension. The Venezuelan leader's remarks come just as the United States has announced a new military deployment in the Caribbean, part of a renewed campaign to target narcotics routes and transnational cartels. Washington's move has raised eyebrows in Caracas, where officials interpret it as a show of force near Venezuelan waters. Maduro, a longtime critic of US policy, seizes the opportunity to frame his country's actions as both lawful and patriotic. The Bolivarian military aviation, bam, boom, bang, he exclaims, mimicking the sounds of gunfire as his hands slice through the air. 2 drug trafficking planes, so that they respect Venezuela. The crowd erupts in applause. His tone oscillates between military bravado and populist theatre, and so on and so forth. Bam, boom, bang every day, he continues, pacing across the podium. Exercising what? What is that called? Exercising our sovereignty. Who exercises it? Our military, our police, and our people. Each phrase lands with a rhythm designed to resonate across television screens and social media feeds, blending defiance with spectacle. Analysts note that Maduro's statement comes amid an uptick in US surveillance activity in the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico, part of a coordinated regional campaign to dismantle narcotics networks. For Venezuela, long accused by Washington of complicity in drug trafficking, such interceptions serve as a public counter-narrative. Caracas insists that these operations prove its commitment to combating organised crime, while also asserting its right to self-defence within its borders and airspace. In the background of this rhetoric lies Venezuela's long-standing narrative of sovereignty under siege, a narrative that Maduro has relied on to consolidate domestic support amid international isolation. His words, broadcast on state television channel VTV, were accompanied by images of radar screens, military pilots, and faint explosions, carefully curated to reinforce the impression of a nation on guard. The phrase "respect Venezuela" echoed through the airwaves like a slogan, amplified by orchestrated applause and patriotic music. To the Venezuelan audience, particularly those loyal to the Bolivarian Revolution, this was not merely an update about a drug bust, it was a reaffirmation of national pride, a demonstration that Venezuela, despite sanctions and diplomatic pressure, still commands the skies above its territory. The bam, boom, bang refrain may sound almost comical to outsiders, but within the domestic narrative, it serves a symbolic purpose. It transforms a technical military operation into a dramatic assertion of strength. For observers abroad, however, the timing and tone of Maduro's remarks raised questions. The coincidence of Venezuela's interception operations with the US naval buildup prompted speculation about whether Caracas was sending a deliberate signal to Washington, a warning that Venezuela would not be intimidated. In diplomatic circles, analysts drew parallels with past incidents where Maduro used military rhetoric to rally nationalist sentiment during times of economic stress or political tension. Inside Venezuela, state media replayed the clip throughout the day. Commentators praised the precision and courage of the Bolivarian Air Force, while others highlighted the president's emphasis on lawfulness and international norms. "We complied with all protocols," Maduro had said, a line clearly aimed at projecting legitimacy. It was an implicit response to critics who accused the government of conducting extrajudicial shootdowns in the name of security. Outside official channels, reactions were more divided. Opposition figures and independent analysts questioned the lack of transparency about the intercepted planes. Who were the pilots? What evidence confirmed their connection to drug trafficking? Were any arrests made? Such details were notably absent from the broadcast. But for Maduro's administration, the optics, the sight of a defiant leader standing tall against external threats, were more important than the forensic evidence. The broader context is a Caribbean increasingly militarized under competing narratives of law enforcement and sovereignty. The US Southern Command's operations against narco-trafficking have expanded significantly in recent months, with joint patrols involving Colombia, the Dominican Republic, and other regional partners. Caracas views these moves as encirclement, a slow tightening of pressure aimed at undermining its autonomy. Maduro's message, delivered from Petare, was as much directed at Washington as it was at his own people. Venezuela will defend its skies, its borders, and its image. As the broadcast continued, Maduro turned the incident into a lesson of national unity. Who exercises our sovereignty, he asked again, pausing dramatically. Our military, our police, and our people. His repetition reinforced the link between patriotism and vigilance, between everyday citizens and the defense of the state. In the eyes of his supporters, this was not simply an anti-drug operation, but a microcosm of resistance against foreign interference. Later in the day, social media lit up with clips of Maduro's bam, boom, bang soundbite, generating both mockery and support. Hashtags like #Soberanía en Acción and #Venezuela Interceptor trended on Venezuelan Twitter, amplified by government-aligned accounts. For the domestic audience, the event reaffirmed a sense of agency in a world often perceived as hostile. For critics abroad, it illustrated how Maduro continues to blend showmanship with political messaging, transforming even military operations into televised declarations of ideological endurance. In essence, the incident and its framing reflect two simultaneous realities. On one hand, Venezuela remains deeply entangled in the geopolitics of the drug war, a complex web of accusations, denials, and strategic posturing. On the other hand, its leadership continues to craft narratives of defiance to bolster internal legitimacy. Whether the intercepted planes truly represented a threat or a convenient symbol, Maduro's portrayal of the event as an act of sovereign defense underscores how national security has become inseparable from political storytelling. As the cameras fade and the patriotic music swells, Maduro's final words echo beyond the parade ground for them to respect Venezuela. To his supporters, it is a rallying cry. To his critics, it is political theatre. But either way, it captures a truth at the heart of Venezuela's current moment, a nation determined to project power, even amid pressure, and a leader turning every confrontation into a performance of sovereignty.